Oh, hey, how are you? We just finished talking about the Passover meal, didn't we? And they were headed out of town that night. Let's pick up there with where they were going. Let's prepare that place first. So Jesus and his disciples have finished their meal, and they're heading back out to the Mount of Olives, which is where they've been staying for the past several nights. But in particular tonight, they're going to a part of the Mount of Olives, a place known as the Garden of Gethsemane. Now, I don't know exactly what grew in the Garden of Gethsemane, but I'm sure that it was a beautiful, beautiful place. And so I wanted to make sure we had a little bit of color and living things here in our garden to remind us of the beauty of this place, the trees that would have been growing there and bushes and shrubs. Certainly it would have been a beautiful, beautiful place. And so we know that Jesus and his disciples on this night after the Passover meal walk out of town to the Mount of Olives, in particular to the Garden of Gethsemane. Now, some of Jesus' disciples stay on the outside of the garden, but Jesus continues on a little further, and some of his disciples continue on a little further as well. While some are resting, others come closer. And I don't know why, but I've always imagined as Jesus left the two, he went a little bit further, and in my imagination, he bowed on his knees beside a rock. Why do I think that? I don't know. But that's just how I imagine Jesus praying in the garden, talking fervently to his Father. And it was a heavy night of prayer for Jesus, because Jesus, despite having told his disciples multiple times what was going to happen, he was really the only one who understood and comprehended the pain, the anguish, the death that awaited him in the next 24 hours. And Jesus prayed that this cup might pass, that he wouldn't have to go through what he was about to endure. But Jesus ended his prayer with the greatest prayer we could ever pray. Lord, but if this is your way, if this is your will, then let your will be done and not mine. So after Jesus prays for a while, he comes back, and lo and behold, the ones who had come further with Jesus, they had fallen asleep as well. Jesus wakes them up and says, "Could you not even stay awake and pray with me for an hour?" And of course, they feel horrible, and they commit to pray with Jesus. Jesus goes back, and he continues praying. Again, they fall asleep. It's been a busy week. It's been a chaotic week. They have a lot on their minds. There's a lot of things they don't understand, but again, he prays for God to be with him. He prays for the cup to pass. And he goes back to check. And once again, he wakes them up. And he goes back one final time to pray. You may remember that Judas had gone off on his own that night. Judas went and led some soldiers out to Jesus. Jesus again woke up. He had to wake up his disciples again, and he said, "It's too late now. It is time. My betrayer is coming." And so, at the noise of everyone coming out, all of the disciples are now awake, and Judas comes, followed really by more of a mob than anything else, with swords and clubs. And Judas, you see, Judas had important information. Maybe I should explain this. Why would Judas bring them out to the garden? Jesus has been in town all day. You see, Jesus was popular in town. You see, a lot of people believed in Jesus in town, and a lot of people wanted to find a Messiah in town. So what the authorities needed was a quiet way to take Jesus. And that's what Judas gave them. Judas knew where Jesus went every night. Judas knew when Jesus would be basically alone with only his closest friends. Judas knew where to find Jesus when nobody else was around. And so Judas brought the mob out to Jesus. Judas kissed Jesus on the cheek as a sign so that the mob would know which one was Jesus. Remember, it was dark out there, but Judas would know. And they came to Jesus. Jesus said, "Why do you come arrest me here? Why do you come arrest me with swords and clubs? I've been in town all the time. I've been teaching in the synagogue. You know I'm not here to fight you. Why do you come out this way to get me?" Now Jesus' disciples were scared, and they scattered. They ran off in different directions. And yes, even Peter, in a moment of weakness, ends up abandoning Jesus in the garden. Jesus is taken captive. Jesus is taken into town. And overnight, while the city was sleeping, Judas goes before the Jewish authorities. Jesus goes before the Roman authorities, back and forth between the two a little bit. And the trials go on a long, bitter night. Some of the apostles, like Peter, want to know what's going on. They just don't know what to do. Peter has this experience. A young servant girl recognizes him. 3 times he is asked, "Don't you know this Jesus? Weren't you with this man? Aren't you one of those fishermen that follows Jesus?" 3 times Peter denies. And on that 3rd time, the rooster crows. It was a dark night in the garden. In life, we do come across many dark nights. There's a difficult day ahead for Jesus. We'll talk more about that next time.